Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, thank you, guys. Guys, if you can't hear me at the back throughout the talk, myself and Andy just tell us to speak up. But I hope we're okay. We are the Landing Page Guys. This is Andy, like we said before. I'm Oliver. We founded the Landing Page Guys in 2012. Since then, we've delivered over 2,000 landing pages to various different clients across the world. We're a full design, development, and integration company. We basically take clients' products or whatever it may be from nothing to a full working funnel for affiliates like yourselves. I don't know what, a lot of you guys may be affiliates, you may be advertisers. Today, this talk's going to be basically about a blueprint that we've built on over the years in what we do. So the blueprint is something that basically it's a checklist that our designers and developers have to tick off every time we deliver a page to a client. There's little things in this talk that you may be able to pick up. Hopefully you pick up some tips, apply it to your landing pages, whether or not you use landing pages, and we're about to tell you why you should be using landing pages. But there's little things in this talk that you should be able to apply, and you should see a increase in conversions just from doing little things. But if you do these things on a whole, as we like to call the kind of blueprint, then you should see a vast improvement in your landing pages, and you'll actually see some case studies and scenarios from clients that we've done these sort of small changes from and seen huge increases in conversion rates. And if you do the whole lot, like I say, you're kind of at a kind of great starting point to push traffic to your landing pages from the start. So yeah, we're just going to explain quickly why you should be using a landing page.
Again, this is something I could probably harp on about all day, so I won't bore you because I'm sure you know a lot of it. For us, it ultimately comes down, and for our clients, it comes down to two big things: is data and it's control as well. So by having a landing page, the biggest thing is that it puts you guys in control of your traffic and ultimately your conversions and your ROI. It gives you the opportunity to do many of these tricks. It gives you the opportunity to really pre-set and warm up your client using all these tips and tricks instead of sending cold traffic through or what have you. It also enables you to provide congruence between your advert and the offer that you're going to be selling. So again, it just gives that extra confidence that people from your ad. You can tie in your message, again, really give that control. Make sure it hits home, hits the emotions, and ultimately ups your conversions. In terms of ownership or in terms of data, it gives you guys control over your data, whether it's only an avatar or you're just gathering metrics, whether it's lead generation or sales. You can gather the data, distribute where you want to, hold the data, build a list, as well as distributing to your partners and platforms. So they're the biggest benefits we see and why you should have a landing page, whether it be a simple advertorial prior to a click-through or a lead gen landing page, simple. And then, so leading on to that, I'll go into the blueprint now to start the steps. And probably the biggest one for us, most important, actually just spoke to a guy, Olivier, actually, point out, about Pagespeed. Massively important. You've got about 5 seconds to really capture your users' attention. That's when they're on the page. It's a bad start if you can't even get into the page. Yeah. I'm sure we've all had those experiences, especially with mobile traffic these days, where you're sat and you're waiting for a site to load and you can't block. You get back out and that's cost you a click or what have you, and the people haven't even made the page. A general stat we go by is that for every second increase in your load speed, you're looking at about a 2% uplift in conversions. So again, if you go from 5 seconds to 4 seconds, looking at maybe an uplift of around 2% in conversions. There are quite a few things you can do to optimize your pages, both on the site side and the server side. I won't go into all the technical details, which I would love to, because I'm a bit of a tech. But there's a great tool called GT Metrics. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of it or used it before. All you do is you put your URL into the system. We use this for all of our clients' online pages. Put your URL in. It basically gives you a score, A to F, and it tells you everything that's affecting your page and also what you can do to change it. So again, if you're not techie, you can hand that to your development team or whoever it may be, and they can look at optimizing your images or something on the server side to bring your speed up. But this has got to be one of the biggest methods for us.
Definitely.
When we first speak to a client and maybe analyze existing pages, or when we're creating new pages, page speed is key.
Secondly, this one's a no-brainer. Everyone knows what responsive pages are these days, and especially with the kind of growth in mobile traffic, everything has to be responsive. I mean, a lot of people will do separate mobile redirects, so they'll have like two separate funnels. They'll have like a desktop page and then a mobile page that's obviously optimized for mobile. But even if you are sending desktop traffic, your page regardless needs to be fully responsive. With the growth in kind of mobile and tablets and different retina sizes on your screen, everything needs to look good on any device, on any browser, on any tablet, mobile, whatever it may be. This is a really cool stat. Making a client's page, this is a really good sell for us. To be honest, if you guys talk to us afterwards and you show us your landing pages and they're not responsive, I know a lot of people, it should be responsive these days, but you'd be amazed at how many people come to us and actually say, here's our link, and I look at it and the page isn't responsive, and I say, are you sending broad traffic? Are you sending mobile traffic, desktop traffic to this page? And they'll say yes, and my smile instantly goes like this. I think, right, well, I'm going to get a sale here, because just by making their page mobile responsive, you'll see a huge increase in conversions, which you can see here. This is the client case we took. We didn't make any other tweaks to the page. We just took what they were doing, an advertorial, a pre-sale, and we made it fully responsive. We made sure that all the key elements were above the fold, and we saw a huge increase in conversion rates. So Pagespeed is probably the number one. Number two, probably up there as well, is responsiveness. So make sure all your pages, even if you are just sending desktop traffic, make sure your page is fully responsive.
Probably not as important as the others, but I've put it in because it sort of runs down to what follows. All about clean code for me, clean optimized code. I'd never focus on being a perfectionist, but there's a service called W3C Validator. You guys may have heard of it. Again, you can just run your web URL through it and it'll highlight any errors in your code. The main reason we bring this up is because quite often little errors in your code that W3C can highlight could be the cause of any conflicts in certain browsers or on certain devices, which ultimately if your CTA, your button isn't working on a certain device, you're losing conversions. You may not know it. So that's why I've put this one in here. Certain services you can't avoid errors. WordPress with certain plugins with the hooks, it causes particular errors, but it's just about weighing up how important they might be. But I did chuck that one in there. Again, W3C Validation, just chuck it in Google. It's a useful service just to try and optimize as much as you can.
It leads on to obviously cross-browser compatibility. So just to run a quick test, so a show of hands, how many of you here use Chrome as your default browser? Most people. Okay, that's interesting. So another stat, 71% of Chrome users are not using the latest version of Chrome, which is, I think, is amazing, especially with sort of auto updating software. Your software normally now updates automatically, but 71% of Chrome users are still using an outdated version. Is anyone in here using Internet Explorer? Because I was going to tell you to get out if you were. So that's good. Thank goodness for that. But you'd be amazed as well. I think it's 7% of the internet's traffic is still using Internet Explorer. Now, a lot of those people are of the older generation. So if you're targeting people over the age of, say, 60, you might be doing life insurance offers and stuff like that. You need to make sure that all your pages are compatible across all the browsers. There's a couple of sites you can check them on. There's Browser Shots. Browser Stacks is it as well, and what they do is they basically render your page on all the popular browsers and all the versions of the browsers as well. Now, we're not telling you to spend hours and hours, affiliate, it's a fast moving industry, you need to bang up pages quickly and kind of do it, but if you want to get to your base level and you want, hire us, but if you want to get to that level where you know that everything's done before you start split testing and A/B testing and such, you need to make sure that your pages are working on all browsers, because what we'll find is we'll chuck even our pages before we send them to our clients. We think it's clean, validated code, like was on the previous slide, but we'll throw it through Browser Stacks, and you'll find on one specific browser, for example, on Internet Explorer, normally, that's where the problems come, but you'll be sending traffic to a page and the button won't even appear on Internet Explorer, and you don't know that. But by using one of these tools, you can find that out. You can put that right with your developer, or if you're a coder, you can do it yourself. But everything needs to be definitely cross-browser compatible across all the browsers and all the versions if you want to go into it that deep.
Next up is validation, mainly field validation. So again, just is for publishers or advertisers, lead generators. It's especially relevant in terms of GlobalWide now host and post. So if you're going to be running any of their offers and you've got a form on your landing page, field validation is a big thing. Only the other day, Oliver was on a website, quite a big website. I don't think what it was, but
I think it's Stripe, but yeah.
And he was trying to fill out the form, and he was pressing submit, and nothing was happening. There was no prompts, nothing. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't really know what was going on. Could have been a conflict. Could have been anything like that. It turns out he changed one of his field details, and the form submitting. So quite simply, they hadn't validated their form. They didn't tell him what was going on, and he was getting frustrated. There's two things that can happen. The user gets frustrated and they drop off. I'm sure you've all had it. And a benefit of having field validation is not only does it keep your user happy, quite often it will improve your end-to-end lead quality. So it's almost like a pre-qualification in a light sense. But you will find higher quality leads coming through, less rejections on the back end. So it's a win-win all around, really. There's a few things you can do. There's server-side validation, which come from the developer from GlobalWide. There's also client-side. I'm sure we've all been on nice airline websites where, as you type in your name or your number, it's nicely validated. It keeps you happy. You know what you're doing. You're not left in the dark. But you can use simple services. There's a service called Party.js to use, or you can also speak to developers or whoever's building your landing page. But again, this was an end-to-end study we did just on implementing client-side form validation, live validation on the client's website. They instantly saw a decrease in their lead rejection. The advertiser was very happy with the policy that was sent through. So again, very simple thing to implement, but can have a major difference in not only decreasing your drop-off and user frustration, but also hopefully increasing your lead quality.
Yeah. Next up is positioning. Now this is quite a broad kind of topic. But again, at start, I really made me listen and think. But 84% of visitors won't scroll further unless the above the fold proposition is strong. So what that's saying is, unless you get across to people above the fold what your landing page is, whether it's we can take this into any pages. If it's a pre-sale, if it's a dating land, if it's an advertorial, if it's a straight sales page, unless you get across what you're trying to do above the fold, 84% of people will not scroll on. So you need to make sure that the positioning is key, whether it's a call to action, whether it's a button, whether it's a form. This is an example from our site. We recently changed this, and you'll see this in a slide later on where we did a split test against another thing. But make sure you've got the key elements above the fold. There's a clear title. It tells you what we're going to do. It gets the user interested, and then we give them a very clear call to action to basically get in touch with us for a quote. And we saw this page convert a lot better than our old page that didn't really do that. So again, just make sure your positioning is key. Put everything that's important above the fold. Really try and get the user to kind of get interested straight away. And then, if they do scroll down, again, it's key on like an advertorial. Advertorials you sell obviously through content. There's a lot of writing there, so you tell a story and you really get into the kind of user's head. But unless that opening paragraph or unless that first snapshot kind of gets people scrolling down, then you're going to lose that client. So make sure you put everything above the fold that's kind of important and grab their attention.
On a similar principle, visibility. This is more related to the actual elements on the page, whether it be the headline, your call to action, your form. Make sure it's visible. Don't chuck it in a jungle of copy and images, or keep it as a flat colour that blends into the background, because you need people to find it quickly, easily. It may be obvious to say, but I know we all get lost in the moment sometimes. And there's many things you can do. Whether change the background colour, add a lead-in arrow pointing to it, utilise white space around it, drop shadows, anything like that. Really simple things will have a massive effect on your conversion rate. I think when you're on the front end of things and you're looking at these pages quite often, you know where things are, you know what's going on, so you almost need to take a step back, think as a user, and just make sure it's clear. Your one value proposition, whatever you want to achieve on the page, is clearly visible. That's a few ways you can do it. Again, this was just our website as well, and we did a couple of things, but it was a very, very quick increase in our conversion rate just by changing the colour of our form, which was a lighter grey before, so it's almost blended into the rest of the page. the image there actually also has a little effect on it, so that when a user clicks the field, it blacks out everything else, highlights the field, so that their attention is just focused on filling out those details.
Call to action. I know we've mentioned this in previous slides, but it's so true. This is again another split test we run on clients' pages, but we also run on our page. Just merely changing the CTA, the text on the button of the call to action from continue to get a quote. We saw a 36% increase in click-throughs on that form. To take it into an instance for affiliates, say for example you're running a straight sale offer or something, and you run some traffic to an advertorial. So you go Facebook advertorial, then you go off to another page. Now, a lot of you will be selling products, or you'll be saying something about an insurance quote or something. Use something that's actually going to guide the user through the funnel. So don't just say on your button buy, or don't just say on your button click here. Tell them what they're going to get. So another example, to take it back to, we work with a lot of merchants and advertisers, and we build their straight sale funnels, and we'll also build the advertorials that go with them. Now, from just changing the button text to rush my trial, or grab the product now, or something that's descriptive, and telling that client what they're going to be getting, we saw huge increases in click-throughs from the advertorials to the sales pages. Whereas when we get people come to us with buttons that just say buy or click here, you won't get that click-through. So just try something a bit more descriptive, really walk people through, and again, we'll touch on this at the end, but always A/B test like your call to actions and your button text, and you'll see a big increase.
But one thing we like to use on our pages is the AIDA principle, so attention, interest, desire, and action. And this basically follows a flow through our page. This can be for anything as well. This can be for your advertorial, sales page, lead gen page. It can be for your content copy even. You can use this principle. But what it boils down to is, so A, for attention, you need a really strong value proposition that towards the user and grabs their attention, tells them, maybe hits on their pain point, and then tells them how you can solve it. Again, an instant on our website, so you've got our headline at the top, which quite simply says what you can do to increase your business sales and conversions with our pages. Then you move on to interest, so you pique their interest, you tell them how you can solve their problem, so not only features but also benefits to the user, sales, promotion. As you follow it through, you hit desire. So again, this is mainly trust and social proof, which we'll touch on later, but that can be anything from portfolio to show people your work where they started visiting sort of their product in your work and how their page may look, and then it goes on to testimonials, reviews, anything like that, which we'll touch on later. And then finally, again, boils down to call to action, but action, you give them the easiest route to take the action. You pique their interest, you've got their attention, you've really warmed them up, you've solved them, played on the emotions, give them what they want. They want your product, just give it to them. And in our case, we've just got a very clear form at the bottom, get a free quote. It's as easy as that. And that principle, again, across a wide range of products, verticals, content, everything you can use to really increase your conversion rates.
Moving on to critical elements, I won't spend too much on this because we've already said this in the positioning, but you need to make sure that you're using critical elements. Normally, I would say above the fold, but make sure that they're definitely on your page. One interesting thing, we took a sales page that didn't have any bullet points, above the fold. It just had a kind of picture of the product and then a form on the side that said buy now. By simply just adding bullet points that told it was a skincare product, basically telling people that it would reduce their wrinkles, it would make their skin all lovely, whatever it may be. We saw a huge 125% increase in sales, which was a really good test to do. The main critical elements we always come up with is a headline. That's obvious. Tell people above the fold what they're going to get. So why are they here? Very short, like you saw on our page in the previous one. An outline and description. So that could be a paragraph, but typically speaking, it's a lot more effective if you do it in bullet point form. So normally about 4 or 5 bullet points, just what the benefits are, get into that user's head, tell them exactly what they're going to get. A supporting image. This is interesting. When we first got into what we do, we work with a company called Debt.org in America, which is a huge lead gen company. Some of you may even work with them or work for them. They always told us that they saw a huge increase in click-through if they had a supporting image. So whether that's if you're doing a car insurance offer, as kind of sadistic as it sounds, show a car crash and someone looking upset, or just have something. I know that doesn't sound good, does it? But you need to put something that supports what you're trying to do and get into people's emotions, and the supporting image always works great. And then, like we touched on before, a very clear call to action. Tell them what they're getting, make it very, very clear and very easy to click through.
Next up, again, it may tie in a bit similar, but removal distractions I mentioned earlier. You do not want to be sending your user anywhere else. This is very good at advertorials if you run them. And we've had clients come to us where their advertorials have maybe ads on the site, totally irrelevant ads. They may even have AdSense. That's not your end goal. You don't want to send anyone anywhere else. They have related articles that aren't. They've run a life insurance offer and they've got an article that goes off to pet insurance. And it's not relevant. You either need to have that going to your offer, remove it, or have another advertorial that it links to. Any distractions on lead gen pages, navigation at the top. There's only one thing you really want your visitor to do. So again, you need to use the principles mentioned previously. Remove navigation. Just get them to do what you want them to do. Make it really easy for them. It's as simple as that. Social widgets, another big killer. Facebook like boxes. People disappear off into Facebook and they never come back. I do it myself, so I'm sure we all do. So again, another example, we simply removing irrelevant links, and all it was related articles. And what we did for him in the end is we made a series of other advertorials, branded the same, all around the same topic, but they all had the same end goal, going off to the same offer. So there was no traffic leaks, no one disappeared anywhere. It was all about the end goal.
Trust and social proof, again, we kind of covered this earlier, but this is so important. This stat is great. Over 70% of people say they look at the product reviews before making a purchase. I'm sure we all do it. Like everyone here is probably on TripAdvisor, right? When you go you're probably staying in London tonight, or if you live here, me and Andy did it last night. We want to find a restaurant. First thing I do is go on TripAdvisor. I read the reviews. It's the same with your landing pages or your kind of offers or your advertorials. For advertorials, what works great is Facebook comments. Make them look legit. And then obviously there's various different things like we've done on our site. So trust seals, if you're doing straight sales, always use some trust seals, made in America if you're sending US traffic, 100% money back guarantee, things like that. Brands we work with, hopefully this should kind of impress you, the companies we've kind of worked with, and it gives you that feel of trust. You really want to get into your user's head and make them realize that you are someone you can trust. Testimonials is a huge one. Again, like on your pre-sales or your click-through pages, make sure you have a couple of client cases that say, I've used this service, it was great, and always support it by an image. People want to see real people, real names. Don't just put some cheesy guy from a stock website smiling like, oh, this is great. Use real people, but always support your landers with definitely some trust and social proof. Testimonials are key. Some trust seals or kind of supporting logos always works very well.
And then this is actually the final point, and it's probably a no-brainer, but you must always test. We've given these points. We always use these points when we build landing pages, but we're by no way perfect. It just helps us get off the ground in a better way than we have previously, based on what we've tested. But you must always test. Whether you're running a split test simply between two different landing pages or advertorials, A/B testing, a single element, a button colour. Well, this is a split test between our website actually, but if you're testing single elements or something that's quite powerful, you may have heard of is a multivariate test. There's a service called Visual Website Optimizer. It's about $49 a month. You can set up all sorts of tests, but in terms of multivariate, you can highlight a few elements. Maybe you want to change your form color, your headline, and your supporting image. What it'll do is it'll spit out multiple combinations to match all of these. It may chuck out 27 combinations depending on what the maths is, and then you send traffic to it, and it will determine your winning combination. So an orange button, blue form, and a certain type of headline. But you must, regardless of how you get started on your pages, you really must test. Very important. Split testing our site simply. Not too many changes, but again, pull things above the fold, change the image. We made the value proposition a little bit different. We just pulled everything up, and that alone, very simple thing that we did, was an 82% increase off the bat.
Like Andy mentioned, like these things, you might not have time to do these, But if you really want to make sure your page is up to scratch before you do those testing, these are the simple things you can do to kind of, you saw the case scenarios in there. We've got plenty of scenarios and case studies from client pages where, you know, we did simple things, like we said, like just making a client's page responsive or making someone's page load that 2 seconds quicker could add 4% conversion rate increase, which is huge when you're kind of, it could be the difference between a negative and a positive campaign. And then once you're obviously plus, you can then work on the split testing, like Andy said, whether that's A/B testing, whether it's multivariate, or whether it's completely split testing 2 different pages and trying to outbeat them. But if you start off with this blueprint, this is the blueprint we always start off with. And we've built our client base up. We have return clients all the time, and people are pretty happy with what we do. So, you know, this is where you should really start. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's it. And thank you all for your time. Thanks for inviting us to speak GlobalWide. And yeah, we were happy to take some questions. I know some of you could have been at AdTech today, so we think we've done you a favour because it's apparently meant to be awful this year. But yeah, any questions, feel free to ask us now or come and approach us after. We're going to stick around for a drink. But thank you all. Thank you very much.